Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the greatest live of all your lives. How's everybody feeling? Welcome to Awakening. I have returned from Dubai. Exciting flight yesterday where I sat in the flight and everybody in the flight was behaving like they have never traveled in any form of transport in the history of humanity. The gentleman who was sitting next to me sat down on the chair, looked at my face, dug his nose, and then proceeded to rub it on the seat in front of him, and I was like, this is going to be a great flight, guys. And then immediately after that, he's, he started eating whatever, some farsan. And then he's offering it to me. And I'm like, no, uncle, I don't want your no soda. Please, uncle, please. So, very great flight. I had a lot of fun in Dubai. For those of you who came out, super fun show at the theater and Mall of the Emirates. Big thanks to everybody at Signature Events and everybody. And also Imad Siddiqui, friend of mine who's a budding comedian in Dubai, who drove me around everywhere. Very sweet guy, so really appreciate it. A couple of things to mention. I am going to be in Saket tomorrow doing a free show for Chai Point, friends. That's right. It's in Chai Point at Sake. They're doing a free show, so come along. And it's first come, first serve. So whoever gets there first will get there. It's happening at 7 o'clock. So please come and yeah, will be fun. To everybody watching, please give a like so that algorithms can be defeated, because we are all here to defeat algorithms, friends. That is all it is. Okay, that is all it is. We are here to beat algorithms, to give likes and all this kind of things. Okay, I'm going to bring on my guest who's very prompt and on time, unlike me usually. So I'm going to introduce him before I bring him on. He's a former CEO of Groupon and co-founder of Nearby. 140 million views on YouTube. We are competing in that, except he has more subscribers. He's written a book which is all about digestion, which is called Doing Epic Shits, I think is the name of the book. Very, very important book. We'll ask you what it's called. Also, the crew behind Ankur Warikoo is called Warikoo. I would, you know what? Very inventive. I would judge it, but I've had 19 shows which have been named after a half punt and rant of the punt and all that. And this channel is called freaking something else. So yeah, please give it a for Ankur Warikoo. Hello, Mr. Warikoo. How's your life today?
Oh, lovely, lovely, sir. Lovely, sir. I couldn't have asked for a better introduction where all the trolling has happened from internally as well. I don't need to go to the chat window at all.
No, but this is what I really like about it, is that you fully embrace the trolling, right? I've noticed this across the board where people are like trolling you and you're like, हाँ रे करना, content चाहिए.
मतलब क्या करेंगे आप लोगों की जिंदगी इतनी दुख भरी है मतलब you can only empathize with them. Like it takes a lot of effort to go on social media, read
Yeah.
something, then feel the anger within to the point it gets your fingers moving, your mouth moving, your brain activated. Then you go and type something which makes you angrier. Then you wait for a response so that it feeds your anger even more. Like boss, बहुत tough life हो गई यार तेरी. So I like
I
खुश रहे,
remember when
खुश
you were doing ads everywhere, and everywhere I think your ads were popping up. Like wherever I went, there was like Ankur Warikoo saying, "Hey, motivation chahiye, motivation, hey chahiye," and I think people started making fun of you, and you're like, you started embracing it. I'm like, dude, that's the best way to do this. Like it was
रहे.
genius. I was like, that's the strategy, man.
There wasn't any strategy. And I was genuinely apologetic because I wish there was a way of solving for that, but there isn't. So all that we had to do was just apologize and say, yeah, we are not responsible for this. I wish I could control it, but I'm really sorry for what you're going through. I wish you saw less of me.
Okay, so we have lots of things to cover. You have by the way, I have to say that was very interesting to coordinate this whole thing with you, because for those of you who don't know, Ankur is very efficient man. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, let's do this. He's like, hey, this is an online calendar, and just enter your entry there, and the next available slot, just do it. And the next available slot was like 3.5 weeks in the future, and I was like, let's do it, let's. And it was very efficient. And then in my head, I'm like, is he gonna show up or something? Is he just gonna be like, no, man? So it was very efficient stuff. Yeah, I really, really appreciate it.
मेरे जैसे सलमान खान का था कि जब मैं खुद से कुछ कर दो तो फिर मैं खुद की भी नहीं सुनता नहीं. Whatever the dialogue was, I don't even know. The same is true for me with the calendar. अगर कोई चीज मेरे कैलेंडर पे चली जाए तो मैं खुद की भी नहीं सुनता. It just needs to be there. I'm very robotic and very routine oriented in that sense, yeah, which really works for me. So I play to my strengths.
No, but listen, I mean, it's very interesting that you bring on that particular quote, because that is actually one of the greatest motivational quotes I've ever heard. which is एक बार जो मैंने commitment दे दी मैं अपनी खुद की नहीं भी सुनता, and I'm like, dude, that's a great. I've always thought that was a great motivational quote, because if you make a promise to yourself and you keep it, then you've done well to yourself and the world.
100 साल बाद लोग सलमान खान के स्टैचू बनाकर बॉलीवुड के हार पहनाएंगे उसे कि ये इंसान था जिसने जिंदगी और हमारा पूरा नजरिया बदल दिया towards our own selves. It's a matter of time. People don't recognize his talent.
It's gonna happen. Listen, I think it's gonna happen sooner than later. Like I want a Salman Khan statue in my house. That's the backdrop I want behind me. Okay, I have a lot of things to talk to you about. So let's get into it. Okay, couple of things. I mean, I love the concept of being an angel investor, because it's like you just like swooped in with your wings and you're like, ye le paisa chahiye le. Like, ऐसे, कितना चाहिए?
इतना
So
पैसा है कि जैसे मैं अपने अपने पंख उड़ाऊंगा पैसे उसमें से गिरने लगेंगे, मैं संभाल ही नहीं पा रहा हूँ.
But the punk is just made of FDs that you've broken. It's just like shattering down as you fall. But you've invested in a lot of companies. I mean, you've spoken about this a couple of times as well. What is it that you look out for when you're investing in a company? Like, is it that, I mean, the standard thing which people say is that about, I'm investing in the entrepreneur as opposed to the company itself. Is that entirely true, or do you look for a bigger idea? What is it?
Yeah, I've actually made a big transition. So I realized in the first 2 or 3 years of angel investing that I was terrible as an investor. Horrible. क्योंकि मैं बहुत जज्बाती हूँ when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I fell in love with the entrepreneur. Like, boss, this guy or girl is going to rock it. Like, it just, the mental bandwidth vibed. It was everything that they said. पूरा वही मैं commitment कर दूँ तो खुद की भी नहीं सुनता. All of those pop culture things. And then they all tanked. They just absolutely tanked for no fault of the entrepreneur, because frankly, it's an intensely hard game to play and the odds are unbelievably against you. So it doesn't even come to your hard work, your intelligence, your capability, your funding, your team, or anything like that. It's just so driven by luck, right time, right place, and so on, that there was no rhythm madness to it. So I made a big shift in my strategy towards spending time. One, I look for genuinely really big ideas, because that is what gets me excited. So I was like, yeah, if I want to put in my money, I am happy to see that money not become really big, or perhaps not even become anything and go down to zero. But I want to at least have the joy of riding on this journey. Warna fir point hi kya hai? So I would sign up for something which I know is going to be a long-term thing. I do definitely look for the early market traction. How are they thinking about it? And that's only come from my own experience of having done this for 10 plus years. तो इतने धक्के खाए हैं और इतनी गलतियां करी हैं जिंदगी में कि अब वो धक्कों की वजह से, गलतियों की वजह से ही I've become wiser, hopefully wiser. And that's the lens that I apply to their idea as well. And then, of course, because I can't change who I am, there is a fair part of it which is still driven by the entrepreneurial tenacity and the founder likeness and the vibe that I get. But it's not as early as it used to be. Pehle to people would come with the idea and it's like, yes, let's do it. This is going to be awesome. But now I waited for a while. I come in at a slightly later stage, so on. I think I've become more responsible towards my money than I wasn't earlier.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that like about luck, right? Like I was watching Dragon's Den randomly because I Shark Tank सारा पूरा खत्म कर लिया. I'm like आगे बढ़ते हैं. Let's see what Dragon's Den is. And Dragon's Den is like slightly more intense and like there's the humor is a little bit more very British and all that kind of stuff. So there's a guy who came in and I think he said something which would it was a box that would sanitize different parts of your like it could sanitize your shoes or your phone or whatever the hell it was. And he, I think, pitched this about 4 years back. And I'm like, brother, if he had literally done it 2 years later, he would be a multi-billionaire right now. And nobody invested. And I was like, shit. And all the comments are just like, this guy's timing is off.
My God. No, it's so true, yeah. It's so true. There's so many awesome ideas that came in too early, too late. And people just lucked out. And I'm not dismissing, again, as I said, the hard work and the idea and the team and blah, blah, blah. Lekin because we can't quantify and measure luck, we tend to dismiss it because that's the rational side of ours which just takes over. Ki yaar, nahi, luck kaise pata chalega? No, how does it really matter? And when we look at our own, like I often say this, ki people, if people ask me, and I'd love to ask this question to you also, Sorabh, What is the one absolutely random thing that you believe has played a non-trivial part in your success? I'll give you my answer to begin with, to give
Yeah.
you a sense of where I'm headed. I think my last name is the most random thing that is attributed to my success, because it's rare people remember it. और अगर तुम किसी वारिकू को जानते हो, it's very high probability कि वो अंकुर वारिकू है, क्योंकि और कोई वारिकू ने जिंदगी में कुछ उखाड़ा ही नहीं अभी तक. तो it is so unbelievable how that one thing, the uncanny recognition, the fact that I'm not a Amit Sharma or a Neha Agarwal, but I'm an Ankur Warikoo, is just so, like, I can't measure that, but I am certain it adds to my success factor in a way that I couldn't have controlled.
Listen,
Anything for you?
you have no idea how angry I was when Rishabh Pant started making it. Like, how dare you have the audacity? Like, एक USP था मेरा. So, like imagine you suddenly have like the most explosive batter in probably arguably world cricket, and you're like, तुझे पंत ही होना था क्या? और ना मिले तुझे. But it's very interesting that you mentioned the whole non-trivial thing, right? Like, I got my first job where, because I was very introvert, and I think like over time, like you like any skill, you can teach yourself to be outgoing and extroverted, and you learn the skills. My mom and me were traveling, and I was unemployed for 3 years post college. Like, I was trying all sorts of things, not getting anywhere. My mom struck up a conversation with some random guy in a train on a Shatabdi Express from Mumbai to Delhi. That guy coincidentally happened to be working at Channel V at the time. He said, "We are looking for writers." My mom said, "My son is a writer," and that was my break. That, like, it just randomly, my mom did LinkedIn for me on Shatabdi Express. That's how I got my first job. So it was fairly random.
That
Yeah.
is insane, man. That is so awesome. I love these stories. We need to have a
Is it?
book around all these, no, lucky events that nobody can explain.
Yeah. I think wasn't Ashwin Sanghi had that book called 13 Steps to Bloody Good Luck or something was the book, I think. Yeah. Okay, Anish has a question. Okay, I'll keep taking questions from all of you. So yeah, I'll have my eye there and here as well. So just keep popping in. Anish says, what are some of your successful investments that became big?
Yeah, the ones that you would not know of. So, as crazy as it sounds, and this is again one of those random things, between 2012 and 2014, which were 2 random years when I suddenly had a lot of money out of no business of getting so, I started making angel investments, and I think in those 2 years made about 7 investments. 6 of them tanked, completely tanked. One of them made me 21 times my money. 21 times my money. And it was an Indonesian startup. And the way that it happened was, I was managing Groupon Indonesia, which was part of my portfolio at Groupon. And the COO of Groupon Indonesia was this guy who resigned from the role and then said, I want to start something of my own. And he then reached out to me. He's like, hey, India, I believe, is very similar to Indonesia. Do you have some ideas? And at that point of time, Paytm had just begun to take off. And I had some early access to Paytm because of how it was shaping up. So I was like, yeah, boss, Paytm or online mobile recharge is something that Indonesia does not have. Usko bana. क्योंकि इंडिया में वो ऑलरेडी एक्सप्लोर होना शुरू हो चुका है. इट्स इनवेरेबल कि वो इंडोनेशिया में भी होने वाला है. And he's like, that is awesome. Would you want to put in some money as well? I said, sure, I'll put in. Let's just see where it goes. And I put in that money, and it was crazy. Today, almost all of Indonesia's mobile recharge is powered by this company. And it's at the back end. So it's not a front end company like Paytm, it's the back end company. So imagine कि तुम किसी भी वेबसाइट पे जाके मोबाइल रिचार्ज कर सकते हो, लेकिन उसकी जो टेक्नोलॉजी है, that is being powered by this company. So they were smarter than Paytm because they didn't go commercial and consumer, but they went B2B. But that's where I made an insane amount of money. Right now, the investments that I've made are slightly more mature. So it will be at least 3-5 years before I see any outcome come out of it. But this is one story that I love sharing.
That's a great story, yeah. But it's also so interesting, right? Like when sometimes you'll find comments, right, about people who've angel invested in a company and said, "कि अरे बस पैसा डाल दिया तो company own कर सकता है." And I'm like, dude, do you realize how many failures have occurred before the successes? Like the number of I'd speak to friends of mine also who are investing in stuff. They're like, dude, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 10 is like usually the number, and I'm like, oh, that's a lot of risk, man.
Correct, exactly. It is absolutely crazy, yeah. It is absolutely crazy. And the investors still have it easy. I often say this to any entrepreneur that's watching it. You have to realize कि इन्वेस्टर ना अपना पैसा बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप्स में डाल रहा है, सो दैट इज देयर वे ऑफ मैनेजिंग देयर रिस्क. पर आपकी ये पूरी जिंदगी है. 100% of all your attention, your bandwidth, your effort, your mental capacity, your physical emotions is invested in this company. So if this doesn't work out, you are signing up for a potentially big thing to just overcome and process. And it's never going to be easy. Investor will be like, oh, ye nahi kaam kiya, chalo, theek hai, you tried, all the best, we'll stay in touch, love you all. But then move on, because that's their business. So you always have to understand ki it is a very, very different emotion to start a company and invest everything that you have in there, as against be an investor and then invest some of your money in there.
So recently, this whole chat about 18-hour days have been surfacing, of course. And by the way, listen, we have to talk about the fact that your last interview was also with a bald guy, and this one is also with a bald guy. Except Shantanu has like, dude, he uses Bombay Shaving Company, and I was so jealous. I'm like, you use your own company for sure. This is amazing. So my question is that, like, I mean, when you started Nearby, etc., was it? I mean, I'm assuming, was it 18-hour days? Is that what you need to do to, or was it like a little bit? And again, I think like even that controversy around that whole thing was a little overbloated. Like, you do what you need to do now. You don't have to follow the advice that everybody.
Yeah.
You give so much advice in a day. People don't have to follow all of it. You can follow what works for you as a human being. So yeah.
If anybody followed the advice of one person singularly, they'll
Yeah.
be like, boss, मुझे कोई idea नहीं है मुझे life में क्या करना है, because one thing is one day, one thing is one day, and we change opinions. That is,
Yeah.
like, I'm not sharing the same thing that I was 3 years back, because I have evolved and I do not agree with some things that I used to believe in 3 years back. But that doesn't mean that I'm not making sense anymore, or I wasn't making sense back then. It's a journey, and that is how life will always be. But anyway, coming to your question, I feel there is a massive segment of society that hates what they do work-wise. They just absolutely hate it. So I think the anger towards Shantanu's seemingly innocent post was, how can you ask / command / order me to spend 18 hours doing something that I hate? Because that then becomes inhuman. It's almost like slavery. Nobody loved being a slave. Nobody ever should. But they were forced to do that. And that's how people constructed it in their head. But I can assure you that people who love their work will be like, is post mein galat kya tha? Until they were actually specifically told, ye cheez galat thi. Oh, acha. Because I didn't realize कि मैं 18 घंटे रोज काम करता हूं, because I love my shit. I genuinely love it. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It may feel like work to somebody else, but it feels like play. And that's how I have, frankly, lived my life. I've been very, very grateful, Sorabh, that I've made very strong, dramatic, almost crazy decisions in my life solely because I knew this was not something that I was happy doing. And I was always living with this belief कि अगर मैं किसी चीज को करने में खुश नहीं हूं, if I'm not happy doing something, I'll never be the best at it. Khatam. There is no other measurement for me. It just is genuine peace, happiness, contentment, because that will then set me apart. If I'm happy being in front of the camera for 20 hours a day, if I'm happy speaking to people live for 4 hours a day, if I'm happy creating content ad infinitum for years and years and years, people will be like, fuck, this is so draining. How do you even do it? And I'll be like, how do you not see how I do it? Because I enjoy this. This is genuinely play for me, like a kid would. So my days at Nearby were just immensely joyful. They were not always easy. They were more often than not intensely hard. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because I was just in love with what I was doing. And I had a brilliant team. I had the belief and the confidence that we were doing it right. And while there were very hard moments in there, there was never a moment where I was like, yeah, I wish I could take a break and just go on a vacation or not have to do this. But the day it felt like I've done enough was the day I decided, let's move on and let's figure out what next to do. And end of 2019, I stepped down and took on what I never thought I would be doing, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it's and also like I mean, like as a comedian, you usually work 1.8 hours a day. That's roughly like on a busy day, you're like, oh my god, I almost had to work 2 hours. It's too much, man. It's very stressful day. But yeah, I mean, I get the 18 hours. I know a lot of my friends who work like 18 hours a day and they love it. And I'm like, are you like, what's wrong with you? But they love it. And so again, the thing is that I think when somebody offers any kind of advice like this on LinkedIn or whatever, I get because people deal with toxic bosses and they deal with all that stuff, and in their head they have implanted the face of the toxic boss on the person saying it. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like, he's not saying you should do it. He's like, you can. It's your choice. Do whatever you think is right.
Exactly.
But yeah. Okay, we have a lot of questions and comments coming in. Shavik Bakchi, oh, my old friend Shavik Bakchi has said, because of Ankur, kids are not eating chocolates and investing their money. Is that a thing? You have a lot of really young fans. Are people actually doing that? Are people actually taking like, नहीं मैं चॉकलेट नहीं खरीदेगा, मेरे को एंजल इन्वेस्टर नहीं,
नहीं
मेरे को
भाई,
स्टॉक मार्केट में पैसा डालने का है.
जोक है, एग्जैजरेशन है, हम लोगों को अच्छा लगता है एग्जैजरेशन, हमारी एग्जैजरेशन वाला कल्चर है, हमें हम
हाँ,
हम पेंट नहीं बेचते, लाइक आई ऑफन से दिस, तुम कभी भी किसी भी कल्चर का अगर एग्जैजरेशन लेवल देखना चाहते हो तो उसकी एडवर्टाइजिंग को देखो. So you go to the
हाँ,
US, and you also came from Dubai, which is somewhat in the middle. It's like this nice West-East mix. US is like West. ये रहा पेंट, ये रहे उसके सारे केमिकल्स, ये रहे जहां से तुम्हें कैंसर नहीं होगा, ये रहा उसका दाम, ऑल द बेस्ट. ये रही गाड़ी, ये रहे उसका माइलेज, ये रही उसकी सीटिंग, ये रहा उसका स्टार्टिंग प्राइस, ऑल द बेस्ट. यहाँ शर्मा जी को देखिए, घर कितना बेकार है, पूरी सीलन आई हुई है, लेकिन एशियन पेंट्स लगाते ही बेटी की शादी हो गई, कुत्ता उससे प्यार करने लग गया, गाड़ी चमक गई, रिश्तेदार एकदम रोज आए जा रहे हैं, पड़ोसी एकदम फिदा हो चुके हैं. सो इट्स दिस exaggeration culture which we love, and that's why I love when like there's no wonder in me why memes are exploding in today's generation,
yeah,
because memes are a brilliant form of exaggeration. And it was about, I think, a year and a half back or so on, somebody wrote in and say, boss, आपको ना memes करने पड़ेंगे, क्योंकि अगर आप
हाँ,
ये young population से बात कर रहे हो, at some point of time you are 42, they are 18, थोड़ा disconnect आएगा, तो ना you will have to start thinking in that. And I thought that was very wise advice. So I was like, okay, let's do that. So we hired some memers, but the problem is meme is such a crazy thing because you can't come up with a new meme every day, and you like, it's just humanly impossible. So now we have like this crowdsourced thing, and I don't know why I deviated into this answer, but we have this crowdsourced thing where we like, boss, अपनी memes भेजो, जो भी मेरा
हाँ,
कंटेंट चल रहा है उस पे तुम मजाक उड़ाओ, मेरा उड़ाओ, किसी और का उड़ाओ, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, बस memes भेजो. And we select those memes, and we actually pay people for the
yeah.
ones that are selected, and we run that. So on a monthly basis, we run about 12 memes on Instagram and then repurpose it somewhere else. But I think it's just fun. I really like it when people exaggerate and like, अरे लोग invest नहीं कर रहे हैं, date पे जाना बंद कर दिया है, कुछ खाना पीना बंद कर दिया है, सब FD में हटा दिया है, सब कुछ म्यूचुअल फंड में डाल दिया है, अंकुर वारिको को बोलो. Great.
It's a great. I mean, listen, doing outsourcing memes and paying people is just a genius idea. It's absolutely, because you're like, "Tu karna kaam, ye le paisa." Like, it's the every time I see you do that, I'm like, that is genius, dude. I'm gonna steal that. By the way, I have to say the title of this video, Uncle Warikoo, which is based on my friend Chirag Mahabal. So all rights to this title belong to Chirag Mahabal. So you can send him money for memes. Okay, we have a couple of chats coming in. I have a lot of questions, but I'll just try and do due justice to these chats also popping in. Anurag says only one book which Ankur recommends everybody, and I think the answer is Atomic Habits. Is that that's the correct one,
It
right?
will surely be one of the books that I would recommend. But एक किताब ना, ये सवाल का मुझे कभी तुक ही नहीं समझ आया,
हाँ,
because it's almost
हाँ,
like saying, big boss, मैं ना किताबें पढ़ना पसंद नहीं है, बहुत लेजी
हाँ.
किस्म का इंसान हूं मैं, एक किताब बता दो बस, एक वो पढ़ लेंगे और जिंदगी सवर जाएगी. बॉस नहीं होता है ऐसे. आई विश देयर वाज, बिकॉज़ फिर लोग किताबें नहीं लिख रहे होते. लाइक एवरीवन शुड बी लाइक, ओ एटॉमिक हैबिट्स, बस अब हम किताबें लिखना बंद कर देंगे. नहीं होता है. तो
Yeah.
there will be multiple books, but yeah, Atomic Habits will surely be one for people in their 20s. It's a brilliant book to understand life.
Yeah, and if you want one book, then I mean, I think you might be looking for religion. Like if that's the, you need one book for the basis. And happy, whatever makes you happy in life, whatever makes you take friends. Okay, Anurag says, love Ankur and Saurav. God bless both. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Anurag. Really appreciate it. Okay, this is connected to actually a question that I had for you. Devang Leah says had emailed Ankur a few weeks back about starting my astrophysics PhD. Just wanted to say today is that day, first day at the office. My God, dude. Wow.
Wow, that is so awesome, man. Congratulations, Devang. All the best, man. तुम मेरे अधूरे अरमान पूरे कर रहे हो.
So that's my question. So you were doing your PhD, and what were you pursuing exactly in the PhD, and why did you decide?
Astrophysics.
Because
I was an
was it
astrophysics PhD.
astrophysics? Yeah, because you everybody said कि NASA में जाएगा ये बच्चा. But why did you decide? Like, what is the was there a moment where like all of these moments usually build up, but was there that defining moment where you're like नहीं हो गया यार, नहीं होगा इससे?
नहीं कोई defining moment नहीं था Saurabh, but there was definitely a build up, and this build up was gradual. It was a it was a very stark realization that I had fallen in love, but it was actually just infatuation. Like this astrophysics was this really pretty girl that I had this massive crush on, and she was out of my league, so it made her even more desirable, and suddenly I fell for her and I started working towards her, and at some point in time I stopped asking whether it made me happy or she made me happy or this relationship made me happy. I was like, no, boss, agar wo mujhe mil gaya hai, that's it, life is set. And yeah, I'm so glad that it took me all the way to go to the US to realize this, because those 2 years that I spent in the US were transformational. I learned so much about myself, about a very different culture that I wasn't used to until then, very different way of living life and looking at life itself. But realization bahut stark tha that this is not making me happy. It's not something that will give me joy. And it was equally hard to make that decision to drop out because I was good at it. Like, it would have been easier if I sucked at it, if I started failing my exams, if I was rebuked by my teachers or my students कि कौन किसके साथ पढ़ रहे हैं हम, क्या हो गया इसको. But I was actually top of my class. I was killing it. I was genuinely just naturally good at physics and math, but I didn't find joy in it. So after a lot of conversations with myself, I was like, nahi, ye nahi karna hai. Going back to the same thing, if I'm not happy doing it, I will never be the best at it.
Yeah, but what did your parents and all think about it? Because I think you've spoken about this so often, which is that, yeah. I can imagine.
Devastated. Man. Everything, like middle class upbringing, never had enough money, almost lived in financial debt all our life.
Yeah.
Thankfully got a 100% scholarship. So सारे अरमान इसी पे थे कि ये जाएगा, हमारी जिंदगी बदल देगा, खुद की तो बदल ही देगा. Everything is done from now on. रुतबा मिलेगा, social status, respect, recognition, acceptance, validation, blah, blah, blah. And now this dude is coming back. It's funny you asked this question. Day before yesterday, my parents were over they stay close by, so they were over for lunch. And my first cousin, my Masi's grandson, or my cousin's son, he's leaving for the UK. And I had left for the US exactly 20 years back in August of 2002. That was when I left for the US. And after 20 years, another member of the family is now leaving. So we were just discussing ki kaisa lag raha hai, kya lag raha hai. And mom was like, the hardest thing that I had to deal with was you leaving. But as soon as I got used to it, the hardest thing was you coming back. I was like, WTF, what just happened? Like, हमने तो भेज दिया था, and I finally dealt with it, and now I was okay with my loneliness and my missing you and all those stuff, and now you drop this bomb on me ki, oh, I'm not enjoying this and I'm coming back. And she actually admitted it was harder for her to see me come back than to actually say goodbye to me and make me go.
Yeah, there's got to be a couple of weeks of like really guilt-ridden भिंडी तो प्याजा है, like ये खा, US में खा सकता था तू यहाँ खा ले. But it's like, you're one of those people who won a scholarship. My sister won a scholarship as well. You have siblings, right?
Yes, I do. Younger sister.
Yeah, so, younger sister, right? And so, okay, here's the thing. Oh my God, you're that guy, man. Oh, this is my sister all over again. My sister won a scholarship to go study in Switzerland, and that place now, it's a place called Saint Gallen and all, which is like crazy expensive now. And she won a scholarship like I think when she went that year, I think the fees was about 4.5 lakhs per year or something, and they gave her a scholarship for that. I think 2 years after that, it was 69 lakhs, some stupid amount. And so people who went after 2 years, they're like, Meghna, what have you done? And the advantage that I had as a younger sibling was there was no expectation from me. People were like, ye kar rahi hai. So I can imagine your sister also going like, tu wapas aa gaya. Now people will start looking at me and saying, what about your achievements? That's tough, man.
तूने तो कुछ किया नहीं, मुझे करना पड़ेगा सब कुछ.
Okay,
Oh.
we have Anshuman Mishra has given a very generous super chat, man. He's given Canadian, Australian dollars, I think, to $30 and a $28. Amazing, bhai sahab. Oh, Canada, sorry. It's
27.99 Bata pricing.
I think that's not true. YouTube allows you to send only that much, like but it is bata pricing. Hello from Canada. It's 2 a.m. I'm watching financial videos and spending money in super chat. What's wrong with me? Love both your content. Oh, thank you, brother. That's very sweet of you, man. Do you do lives at all? You do a few lives here and there. I've seen on Instagram and all that.
Very few. So my regular is an Instagram live that I do every Friday at 10 p.m. But
Yeah.
YouTube पे बहुत कम.
हाँ हाँ.
नहीं, आप जैसे भारत में बैठे हुए हैं, there are enough people streaming. मैं क्या ही कर लूंगा एक साथ और आके.
Okay, okay, let's ask you this question. Okay, this is a question that I had. Okay, now this is some of the cliches about motivational people. Okay, so this is I mean, I'm not going to say rapid fire. That's too much of a cliche. So I just want to just say it as how you want to say it. So what time did you wake up today?
I woke up at 5.
Wow. And okay, you sleep at 10, is it? Or 11?
Last night I slept at 9:15. We sleep between 9 and 9:15. हम बहुत बूढ़े हो चुके हैं. हम अपनी जिंदगी में एकदम like दांत निकाल के पानी में रखकर एकदम करके हम सो जाते हैं.
I thought I could catch you where you said last night I slept at 2 o'clock. I was watching Netflix for 3.5 hours and I just woke up before this live. I'm like, पकड़ा गया अंकुर वारेकू. झूठ बोलता रहता है लोगों को कि जल्दी सो जाओ, जल्दी उठ जाओ.
Oh, yeah. जैसे आज it's I tell people because I create this content on personal finance on YouTube. So I have this Excel sheet where I created where at least it worked out for me that if you rent a car as against buying a car today, it is smarter money wise. So that's what I often talk about. And आज मैंने ट्विटर पे जाके बोला कि यार मेरी पहली गाड़ी ना 26 साल पे मैंने खरीदी थी मारुति स्विफ्ट which was your first car. Just generally curious what are people buying. तो आ गया smart वाले comment. Oh, a legend once said, don't buy a car, rent a car. What happened to that? दोस्त 2006 था यार, मतलब काश मेरे पास वो होता तरीका. But I love the fact that you still chose to dig.
So like 16 years back, why didn't you take a car loan? उस टाइम पे मतलब लोन होता भी नहीं था गाड़ी के लिए. मतलब ऐसे 26 साल की उम्र में किसको मिलेगा लोन? So yeah, I mean a rented car. Sorry, is what I meant.
Yeah.
But and that's so interesting, right? About like about how I think we mentioned this earlier also that your opinions in life changed, right? Like it's taken me so bloody long that to understand how important networking is, and not even networking, because I used to think networking means like, excuse me, here's my visiting card, get in touch, thank you so much. Whereas it's just chilling, hanging around and say, हाँ तो वैसे अभी रवि शास्त्री की बैटिंग के बारे में बात कर लिया, अभी थोड़ा पैसा दो साइड में. So that's what networking is. It's taken me really long to realize that. Is one of the so this is a two-part question. What is one advice that you followed earlier which you later realized was rubbish, and vice versa? What is the thing that you wish you had done in the past which you could tell yourself? I mean, that's the
one advice that I used to believe in overwhelmingly was everyone has a passion which is lying around in some corner, and our job is to find that passion. पूरा जिंदगी का वही मकसद है. And the smarter ones find it earlier, the slower, dumber ones find it later. But everyone finds it eventually. If they don't, then they're unhappy. I've changed my stand on that completely. And my stand is you don't find your passion, you grow your passion. Which means there's nothing that's lying around, there's nothing that's predetermined, there's nothing that is there as your superpower waiting for you to explore it or identify it. It is just something that you do over a prolonged period of time and then realize you love it so much and you've gotten so good at it that you can actually make it hopefully your profession as well. If not, then definitely a large part of your identity. And that's why I, with all respect, because I was also the same person when I was growing up in school and college, when people come and say, yeah, mera passion hai, ye karna, ye karna, ye karna, ye karna. I was like, yeah, give it 5-10 years. We'll talk about it after 5-10 years. And it'll be wonderful if you're still doing what you're doing. But I'll be very surprised if what your passion you thought was in 11th and 12th still turns out to be what you do in life. So that's one big departure from my thought that I've had. something
The
that
passion
I
thing is so interesting that, like, I mean, you essentially just said pursuing it is like is fascinating, right? So one of my mom's friends gave such a sly this thing to me, right? Where my mom said, हाँ हमारे बेटे के यहाँ पर इतने टिकट बिक गए और उसका ये शो हुआ and all that stuff, and the auntie is like, हाँ 10 साल से कर रहा है, कहीं तो सफलता मिलेगी. And I'm like, wow dude, thanks a lot. Just shitting on my whole career. Well, and then I realized she's right. It's like if you're doing something for 10 years, you're probably going to be good at it, right? So yeah. Anyway, the
no,
second
no,
part, yeah.
that's so true. That's so true. One thing that I wish I knew before. Yet this is definitely thing. One thing that I wish I knew before, but I don't think I would have done anything about it even if I knew, is there is joy, immense joy in life to just slow down and let it be. Not chase anything, not set deadlines for yourself, not have goals and targets with a time target attached to it as well. Just let it be. And I was not that person growing up. I was like, 25 tak ye, 30 tak ye, 35 tak ye, 40 tak ye. And my entire science training made me very methodical and very like plan banana. So if you saw my plan in class 11th and 12th, it would have like 25 साल पे 9 सितंबर 4:30 बजे मैं अपनी पहली गाड़ी खरीदूंगा. It was literally like chalking out everything in life. And now I'm living such a different life. And I have been for, I'd like to believe, almost 10, 15 years now, ever since I came back from the US after dropping out. Because the best plan that I had for my life, like the best ever plan I had for my life, had just gotten destroyed in front of my eyes. So I had no basis for coming up with another plan. Like there was no idea / inspiration that could tell me, here is what you should do next, or here is what you could do next. So I was like, boss, I need a way to live life without a plan, without a goal, without a target. I need to find a way of doing that. And I think I found that way, which is what I've been living. I have no idea where I will be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And I'm totally okay with that. I love that fluidity because ये पता है इतना अपने ऊपर भरोसा है कि भूखा नंगा नहीं मरूंगा. अपने साथ अपनी फैमिली को उस फाइट में नहीं डालूंगा which we all fear about. But our bigger fears in life is लोग क्या कहेंगे, कहाँ चला जाएगा वो पूरा recognition, कहाँ चले जाएगा वो लोगों का belief. Everyone will like, अरे आप तो बड़ी बड़ी बातें करते थे, अब खुद ही जिंदगी में ये हो गया, तो क्या चल रहा है, खुद के लिए ही नहीं बात कर पाए. And all of those social constructs that we just self-inflict. But I'd like to believe I'm free from all of those. So I love now taking my time to get to a certain point.
Yeah, there's no way your younger self would have listened to that. It's like,
Oh,
"हाँ,
no
try,
way.
काम
No
करने
way.
का."
Absolutely
I'm-
no way.
I mean, I think you once said that you used till 26 you used to keep a plan of what every hour of the day would look like, and I'm like, wow, man, that's so. Like in my head, I was like, what a nerd, dude! What a nerd, guys! And like, how many hours did it take him to do that?
I
He's like
know.
in his diary, he's writing R1, make notes in diary for how to spend the hour. But it's a lot of work, man. By the way, we have Vaibhav Arora who says, I also slept at 10 p.m., woke up at 3 p.m., wasted 2 hours after that, slept again at 5 after watching this live after waking up. Great job. That's the kind of person I like to inspire. It's not to inspire anybody. Okay. This is a completely random question from Anurag who says, why does, and thanks for your super chat, says, why does Ankur do what he does in life? Why didn't he join an MNC or start his company? Rather, he opened his own YouTube channel. I think he's done all of that, by the way. I think he's done all of that and then started his YouTube channel.
I know. अनुराग, sorry यार, ये तो सौरभ ने ही जवाब दे दिया. मेरे से यही जवाब सुनने के लिए आपको 1000 रुपए देने पड़ेंगे.
Okay, this is okay. I want to talk about ISB. Okay, Shavik Bakshi says, Anurag, you're ISB alumni. Would you recommend doing an MBA in 2022?
Yeah, I would recommend doing an MBA if you're not sure of what you should be doing in life. It's an MBA, as crazy as it sounds, it's actually a great discovery degree. It's a wonderful discovery degree, provided you do it in a really good school. Doing it in Warikoo Institute of Management is not going to change anything for you. Go to a great school. You'll be surrounded by very smart people, driven people from all walks of life. You'll be thrown into multiple curriculums. You'll learn about sales, marketing, finance, HR, IT, blah, blah, blah. Basically business world. Agar business world ke daire mein rehna hai. So you will get a lot of exposure in a really short period of time, which is a great way for you to figure out what lies outside, what are the things that you enjoy, didn't enjoy, what are the things that you think you could be good at, not good at. So I generally find an MBA to be a wonderful discovery degree. But if you're very sure of what you want to do, and if you're very clear on how to do it, then you may not require that degree. And in 2022, you certainly don't want to be working for a company that only looks at you because of your degree. And that's why there are plenty of startups that will recognize you for the intensity you bring, for your drive, your ambition, your experience, clearly your capability. And they will disregard any social stamp like a degree, and not pay any big attention to it.
Is that actually true though? Like if I have a say a BCom and I get into a startup, like they'll accept somebody with like just that, and then you go ahead and you just go by work experience for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
that possible now?
Totally, yeah, totally. Because see, the thing is, it's not so much कि BCom है. The thing is, BCom के साथ साथ ऐसा क्या किया जिसकी वजह से हमें लगता है कि you are not a regular BCom. And that is the key. So it's not like, oh, मैंने BCom किया है, मुझे ले लो. Because then that's like entitlement. It is like, oh, मैं BCom कर रहा था, but I also did a bit of UX UI design. I also did a bit of graphic design. I also did a bit of web development. I also did a bit of project management. I pick up these courses. I did internships here. I did these projects. So you are essentially a very curious kid. And if you are a curious kid, that's the best trait to have in a startup, because that curiosity will drive you to wherever you want to go, because nothing is certain in a startup. And what we need early on in a startup are just hungry, curious, driven individuals who can go deep into a problem and just run after it like a bulldog and not let go. And if you have that temperament or that tenacity, then you are gold, irrespective of where you come from or what you've done, because very little of what you've learned in college is going to be applied in your work.
That's interesting. Yeah, also I mean, you can learn all these skills now just essentially online and develop whatever it is. I want to talk to you about ISP because I'm a big fan of that college, man. Like I used to go there. I think there was a period where I think I went there to do a show once every year for 8 years.
I have to tell you this, and I had to park my comment for that. The first time I heard you live was at ISB.
Oh shit! Oh my god!
Yes.
Dude.
And this was, I think, 2006 or 2007. This was the alumni reunion, and you were performing. Yeah. And I'd followed you on online before, but I'd never heard you live. And that was the first time I heard you live, and I was like, "Boss, ye banda to bahut rock star hai." And that's when I've been like following you ever since.
Wow, man, that's awesome. I used to love ISB because I remember like every time I went to ISB, I mean, thank you so much for the compliment. Every time I went to ISB, it was so nice because everybody used to just tell me how many relationships have broken up at this college. like after a point, I was like, I think the joke I used to do, I forgot what the full form was, but it was Indians sleeping everywhere. I don't know what it was, but it was like the number of couples that broke up. And fantastic college, great campus, everybody. Some of the smartest people I've ever seen come out of that place. But yeah, how was your experience there? Because they squeezed in that entire MBA degree into 1 year. Do you think that helps, and do you think that's possible? Because like, I mean, that's an 18-hour day where you have no option really. You have to do the 18-hour day in ISB.
Those were truly the 18 hours days, and you didn't have a choice. You signed up for it. But it was awesome, yaar. I don't think any one of us was measuring कि वो 2 साल की पढ़ाई हमारे 1 साल में करा रहे हैं कि नहीं करा रहे हैं, and so on and so forth. It was just so intense and so rigorous and so overwhelming because you were just surrounded by, as you said, bright minds that you felt like a constant loser perpetually, that it just taught you a lot. And it could go either ways. For me, it worked out very well because I dabbled with a lot of things, and that made my decision making of what I wanted to do and not fall for FOMO become better. I met so many smart people who were so different from me that I actually saw the world in a very different light than what I used to. मैं ना बहुत stuck up इंसान था. Like जिंदगी में, I was judgmental as fuck. I'll be like, growing up in school, and I went to an all-boys school. You grew up in Delhi, right? Did you?
No, I grew up in Mumbai. I was born in Delhi and grew up in Mumbai. But all-boys school completely. I'll understand everything you just say. Please go ahead. The experience is, I think it's the same across the board. There's some thread there. So yeah.
Delhi में I'd like to believe एक थोड़ा सा power equation भी आ जाती है, so it just amplifies everything that you would experience otherwise in an all-boys school. So it was crazy, and like there is just violence all over. There's this testosterone that is uncontrolled, and people have to punch somebody or a wall to just let it out. And I was like, ये लोग जो ये करते हैं वो गंदे लोग हैं, जो लोगों को मारते हैं वो गंदे हैं, जो सुट्टा मारते हैं वो गंदे हैं, जो दारू पीते हैं वो गंदे हैं, जो पार्टी करते हैं वो गंदे हैं. And ganda was not like ganda. I was like, they are evil people. Like, they will be the reason the world will collapse one day. So I was like just built up with these notions and these moral high grounds that were just absolutely baseless and supremely stuck up. So ISB was when I just let go of that, because I saw people for who they were while they were partying, while they were smoking up or smoking or just randomly having casual sex or whatever the case was. They were still fundamentally either nice people or not nice people, and that had nothing to do with what they were doing in their life as a principle, which I thought was not right. So it was great, man. The experience was very enriching. It's transformational completely.
Listen, I remember, I think every time I used to go, there used to be all these parties in people's rooms. And there was this one professor who used to dance like Michael Jackson, and I think he had been doing this for years. So every year I'd show up, I'm like, "Kidhar hai professor? Mere ko nachna dekhne ka hai, kidhar naach rahe hai?" And invariably he'd be like submitting some moves. And like, this guy's he's on a trip, man. I love this guy. I want to be him when I grow up. It's great.
It's so true. So true.
Yeah. It's a very, like, I really, I mean, but I mean, I think that comes to, I think what the question was asked earlier about doing your MBA. I would say the one advantage that you also, I'm assuming with the ISB education, one is it sort of it changes you as a person and opens you out in that way. And also I'm assuming the networking. So for those two things, I would still say like an MBA is a good thing, right?
Absolutely. That network just stays, and especially, which is why I said, please do your MBA from a really good school, because you want to make your money work not just for the time that you spend there, but also for time thereafter. And that's only going to happen if your alumni network is very strong and you see people go on to do wonderful things from that school that you graduated from, and that just pays for itself multiple times over.
Yeah. Okay. We have a few chats, and we have my old friend Akhil Pisharodi says, like Toko Public. Absolutely, give like. Come on, defeat that bloody algorithm. How dare this algorithm come in our face? Come on, destroy the algorithm. Give like. Come on. Okay. Anshuman Mishra. Oh my God. Again. Oh my God. Canadian dollars have popped in 27.99. Love this guy. I'm in 9 to 5 job. I'm happy with my job. I'm happy in the money I make and living a normal, decent life. But now social media makes you feel like you're a failure if you're not an entrepreneur. If it's okay, want both of your opinion. Oh, that's a very interesting POV, man. What do you think?
I think entrepreneurship is definitely over glorified. And that's because we only look at the glamour. It's like wanting to be in Bollywood because you look at everyone running to say, "Arey, Shah Rukh Khan," or no, Katrina Kaif. For every success that you see, there are 99% failures that come in for no fault of theirs. And that's the big thing. I'm not saying that that's not the reason why you should not do it, but please don't be driven by the glamour of it or the funding of it or what gives you that high that you see in the newspapers and magazines. Here are 3 reasons why I believe no one should become an entrepreneur. One shouldn't become an entrepreneur because they want to make money. It's the worst way of making money. Like you just said, Ashutosh, you are in a great job and you're earning decent and you're happy. Take it for what it's worth. And I'm saying this factually. Your probability of making more money by the time you are, say, 40, 50 is far, far, far higher in a job than picking up entrepreneurship as a route to do that. Because entrepreneurship is like a 0 or 1. So या तो तुम करोड़पति बन गए, या तो तुम फिर 10 साल तक ठोकरे खाओगे and you will have nothing to show except your experience. So that's number 1. Number 2, don't become an entrepreneur because you hate your job or you hate your life. So you want to just escape it. For that matter, don't do anything in life just because you hate your current life. That's almost always the wrong reason to pick up anything new. Number 3, don't become an entrepreneur because of FOMO, because everybody else is doing it, which is what you described. क्योंकि फिर ना, at the slightest hint of an obstacle, you will start regretting that decision. Because then the FOMO will be, why did I leave what I had? सही तो चल रहा था, सब कुछ बढ़िया था, हर महीने पे तनख्वाह आ जाती थी, क्लब जाते थे, वेकेशन पे जाते थे, घर पे सब कुछ था. Now we are running 18 hours a day with no money in sight, no visibility of how it will unfold and so on. So these 3 are for me the biggest reasons why one should not become an entrepreneur. If you fall into any of the 3, then it's almost always going to be a hard one.
Yeah, and also, I mean, there's joy, and there is I mean, there's joy in being a good employee. Like, if you enjoy being an employee, and if you enjoy working for a company, and enjoy that environment of like being in a team, and it's fun, and I mean, what's the big like? I think there is also like there's so much joy to be had in like having the 9 to 5 job, or whatever, 10 to 6, whatever job you have. There, or 18 hour, whatever job you have, like you can have fun and you can be celebrated for that. Like, dude, like every time I do a corporate show, I love people who love their jobs, right? Like you meet some HR person who's like, I love this, and I'm like, hey, what do you love about this? I love talking to people. I'm like, that's a very basic thing, but absolutely, completely understand, dude. Like and that's I met a guy. This is one of my favorite stories. Okay, he told me, I think he told me he was very excited about how he is the number one like supplier or salesperson of selling ball bearings from India to one small part of Eastern Europe. एंड ही वाज वेरी एक्साइटेड, इज लाइक अरे हम लोग क्या करते हैं ना, फिर ऐसे शिपिंग का मैं बदला, फिर ऐसे में किया, फिर मैं इलॉन मस्क को हाई फाइव दिया. आई एम लाइक, डूड, दिस इज, आई लव दिस गाय. एंड देयर सो मेनी ऑफ दोस पीपल हु एग्जिस्ट who can be part of like a cog in a machinery and still be joyful and still be great at what they do, and all of that. So yeah,
That's well said, man.
embrace it.
Absolutely well said. I think there is this culture of just dissing on 9 to 5 jobs if you're from the startup world, which is one of the big reasons why, with everything that it has, I don't like Bangalore as a city, because it's just so full of itself when it comes to that startup wala culture. And everyone's like, oh boss, अगर तुम MacBook लेके नहीं घूम रहे हो तो तुम फिर जिंदगी में क्या किए, और तुम अगर थर्ड वेव कॉफी नहीं पसंद करते तो फिर तुम मतलब तुम क्या ही हो. तो is these notions of what is the cool tech, peak Bengaluru or Bengaluru wave, which is like, nahi yaar, this is too much of a cocoon, it's too much of a well. Bahar niklo, duniya bahut badi hai.
Listen, I love Bangalore startup culture because they keep hiring me for shows. So, hello, everybody in Bangalore. Whatever Ankur said, I completely don't stand with. Third Wave Coffee, happy to have you as a sponsor of the show.
Apple, I'm open for collaboration.
Yeah, dude, like, and it's never those big companies, like small fun companies who like put money for this kind, and that's the company I want to work with, man. I don't want to work with a company who's like, we want you to do a YouTube live, but no expletives. Don't talk about anything which is in the news. Just talk about how life is amazing. Please, come on. So yeah, I don't like that. Okay, we have a question. Shavik Bakchi says, Ankur, thank you for the Lost at 24 video. Really, really motivated me.
Thank you
That was
so
a
much,
great
Shavik.
video. Yeah.
Thank you so
Do you
much.
get a lot of people like? I'm sure that's got to be the most the most exciting part about being a motivational speaker is to get people who especially down, and then they're like, hey, because of you I went up. I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
lot of that popping in on a regular basis.
There is, and that's frankly the most gratifying part of what I do, because there are genuinely moments, Sorabh, and I kid you not when I say this, I pinch myself to remind myself that I'm actually living this life, where because of some, like, I'm just a guy doing my shit. I'm just standing in front of a camera, walking through my life experiences, which are not a figment of imagination, but what I went through. But for that to influence somebody and hit somebody so hard in a good way that they do something about it is just crazy. But I don't want to ever go over the top because of that. So there's a Google Drive. I have these 3 folders that I've shared with the team as well. One is funny, and funny is like somebody just saying something which is funny. Uncle Warikoo. Second is second is troll, and those are like, that's all the hate that we get for whatever reason it may be, so on. And then third is life changing. And I tell my team, whenever you feel like you are the shit, like you're killing it and you're like God's gift to humankind, just go to the troll folder and it will just bring you down back to earth, because that's also real. Whenever you feel like, यार क्या कर रहे हैं हम, क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है इससे, हम लगे हुए हैं, रोज वीडियो डाल रहे हैं, रोज ये कर रहे हैं, किसकी जिंदगी में कुछ इम्पैक्ट हो भी रहा है कि नहीं, go to the life changing one, you will see it, and that will hopefully lift you up. And those two are the two sides of a coin, and they will always coexist. Never take one to heart. Never feel that the other one is against you, which just coexists.
Has a troll ever said something to you where you're like, "Sahi bola, bhai"? Like, because that's happened to me a couple of times. Like, where I've had people say, like, I think like on stage, I used to be loud like throughout, right? And then I realized, okay, I need to I need to do it in certain way. Like I can't keep doing like that, right? So I had to, and it was after troll saying, hey, he's so loud and he's, and then they said he's laughing at his own jokes. That I'm like, no, I listen, I'm having fun on stage and I'm not going to change laughing at my own jokes because I'm finding them funny. But yeah, so what did a troll say where you're like, ये तो सही है?
नहीं, बहुत बार यार. I think if I dispassionately remove the messenger from the message, quite often the message is something that I should do something about. And if I do it, then I'll only become better at what I do. तो बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो गालियां दे दे के बोलेंगे कि भाई रोज मैं YouTube खोलता हूँ, तेरे ऐड आ जाते हैं, नहीं सुनना तेरा ऐड, नहीं लेने तेरे कोर्स, जा BCMC, blah blah blah. And like ठीक है, just remove the messenger, remove the tonality and everything. इंसान genuinely दुखी है. And they don't want to see the same face. I also would have perhaps felt the same way. So we have to do something about it. And we would then start working towards making that happen. Or people are like, yaar, like, why are you so full of yourself? Why do you say this? Why do you say everything that you say with like a smirk, almost suggesting that we don't know and you're the one who knows it all? And I realized that there is a part of me that has become so attuned to how I live life that I fail to see it is difficult for others to see it that way. I have lived life. I'm 42. I've had so many different experiences कि बहुत सारी चीजें उसमें मेरे लिए अब normal हो गई हैं. So it's normal for me to stay calm. It's normal for me to be very patient. It's normal for me to have a routine. It's normal for me to not want to spend time with fellow creators, hobnob in these events and conferences, because I don't associate with that. I would much rather hang out with my audiences than with the ones and so on. And it's very, very likely that this comes across as a know-it-all. Somebody who's like so in love with himself, यार तुम्हें क्या ही पता है, मैं तुम्हें बताता हूँ जिंदगी कैसे जीते हैं. So I made those changes, and I think that those are always helpful. No troll for me is a troll. I'm an irrational optimist, and I wake up with the belief that nobody ever wakes up saying I want to fuck somebody's life today. Nobody does that. So they do it because something irks them. So if I were to just pick that up, then I'll possibly be better at what I do.
I mean, I think there are people who just wake up and they're like, let's fuck somebody's day today.
I knew you would say that. I was just waiting for you to say that.
There's quite a few of those psychos out there. I think, but I do think that it's reduced. You know, every time I say that, hey, I think it's reduced, they'll surface, and then I'll be like, why? Like, it's like almost I'm calling them. I'm sending manifestations to the universe. Okay, so this is Samir Deshmukh, and tell me if this is a troll or funny. Just buy and take his course and take a refund, guys. You will never see his ads again. Hashtag good vibes.
That's actually true. This is actually true. So a lot of people, क्योंकि the campaign is structured in such a way कि अगर किसी ने खरीद लिया तो उसको ad नहीं दिखेगा, और जिसने नहीं खरीदा उसको ad दिखता रहेगा, and we would love to control it but we can't. So this is an hack because we have a 100% refund policy. तो लोग refund मांगते हैं and दे देते हैं.
That's great. Like, do you know this guy called CoffeeZilla?
No.
Okay, so he's this amazing YouTuber. Okay, what he does is that he exposes YouTubers who've been doing crypto scams across like the US and all that kind of stuff, and also like a lot of motivational speakers who do like random courses and stuff like that. And one of the things that he keeps talking about is this refund thing, where he's like, if you have a refund policy, you're probably fine. Right, because like if you're just like whatever, so I mean, listen, if I don't know how many people watch CoffeeZilla, but you, I think especially will really like him because he's an investigative journalist for YouTube, and I'm like, wow, and he gets hardcore into it, dude. Like he found out like people who were scamming me, like massive big YouTubers. So yeah.
Oh, I love this. No, I'm checking out his channel. Thank you for recommending. I had no idea of his existence. I'll look him up for sure.
Oh, he's fantastic, man. He's like very interesting guy. Okay, Ankur has a couple of first. Let's take Anurag's question, which is thanks for your super chat. Says just asking, don't mind, is Anurag from Gujarat?
And I love the fact that it's hashtag Gujarat.
Just to remind you, like it's going to trend now, where the comment is now like YouTubers have picked up, like, and it's also the wrong spelling. it's like hashtag the wrong spelling. Yes. Are you from Gujarat?
No. We are originally from Kashmir, but I never stayed there. We moved to Delhi when I was 3, so that was a long time back, and I have been in Delhi all through.
Wow, nice, very nice. Okay, Anurag has sent a couple of chats. You can just answer whichever questions you want. This is the last couple we'll do.
Ooh.
What is Ankur's routine? Okay, this is a lot of questions. Okay, Ankur's routine we discussed briefly up top, so you can check that out. When was the last time he cried? Let's do when was the last time you cried? When was the last time you cried?
I cry very easily here. I cry at the drop of a hat. So I mostly cry movies. I cry watching music reality shows on YouTube.
Oh my
Good
god.
music or a singer with a story will just move me like my god. I'm like I'll be bawling. I'm like, इसके साथ ये क्यों हुआ? It's just crazy. I would really cry at very well made videos where I know that the artist has just invested a lot around that. I cry at patriotic stories of किसी ने कुछ कर लिया. I cry at underdog stories like Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar and shit. It was just. So the last time I cried was, I think, yesterday. Yesterday, I was watching some America's Got Talent recent editions. बस कोई किसी की कहानी थी, वो किसी को कुछ कैंसर, वो अंधी माँ बिन ब्याही बहन गाने गाने आ गए हैं.
So it works, dude. It works. This is, and this is the thing that it works every time. Like these kind of manipulations, like the stories are like every time this reality show stuff happens, it's like I don't know if this has made you more emotional, like as a parent, right? Like I was in Dubai and I was genuinely missing my kids, and I just saw some kid with a very happy face, just this thing, and I'm like getting all misty eyed, just looking at this kid running like, "Mere bachche bhi aise daudte hain." And in my head, I'm like, dude, you're meeting them in 12 hours. Calm down. it's a lot.
How old are your kids?
5 and 7. I think. I don't know. I've not
Lovely
checked.
age.
I don't know
Lovely
the. I
age.
don't know the ages. Might be 12. Might be 14. Who asked these things?
Don't back up.
Sorry.
Please दे देता हूँ.
Okay, this is the last question from Anurag. He says, "Why do corporate people don't talk about politics in our country? Their life is a 9 to 5 job, and then Netflix and chill. Does Ankur have any political opinions? Does he support or dislike a political party?" I mean, look, I know the answer, but please go ahead and if you want to talk about this.
I, of course, have political opinions. Everyone has political opinions, but the smart ones never share it. So I won't as well.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like I think it comes with so much repercussions to just say anything anymore. Where you say one thing and everybody's like, "Did you mean this?" Dude, come on, listen. Shantanu stopped posting on LinkedIn because he said 18-hour week. So can you imagine him talking about politics? So just do people? There's a lot of people who talk really well about politics, and let those people talk about politics. They do a tremendously good job, and people who don't want to talk about it, it's absolutely fine. So yeah, Ankur, you've been very generous with your time. Thank you so much. It's exactly 12:31. And follow Ankur on YouTube at Warikoo, and on Instagram, which is where I think and then you have a separate channel which is only for shorts. I mean, that's ridiculous and intelligent again. And if you have memes, you can submit them to Ankur. Yeah, anything you'd like to plug, please go ahead. Anything you'd like to tell people to do.
No, thank you for having me, man. This was fun. I never knew that from watching you live one day and following you, we'll be on a show together. So thanks for reaching out, and I'm so glad that we made this.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure, man. Ankur, thanks a lot for your time. You can log off. I'll just do some announcements and all that kind of stuff. Thank you, Ankur
Awesome.
Warikoo. Pleasure talking to you.
All the best. Bye-bye, everyone. See
Bye.
you.
Okay, awesome. Super. Thanks a lot for everybody who tuned in. A lot of people who gave a lot of comments. Really appreciate it, man. And that gentleman who gave Canadian dollars and all. Mast re, bhai. Bahut mast insaan hai. One second. Mood kya hai? Somebody says cowards never share their political opinions. I think you also do some research about figuring out why they don't. It's also very possible that the people have different. And yeah, I do think that it's like some people have the option to not be able to, and that does come from a point of being, like I think you said the word elite or whatever. It's being lucky, I guess. But yeah, there is also a lot of backstories. Maybe you don't do it for your own mental health. Maybe you've been through stuff in the past, and maybe in 2017 and 18 you got death threats threatening your family, etc., etc. So maybe that's why you don't want to talk about politics. It's highly possible. So yeah, before you say cowards and never share it, etc., I mean, maybe do some research. Shavik Bakchi says, Sorabh, who buys your clothes? I buy my own clothes, my friend Shavik. I do it myself. Okay, a couple of things to announce. Please give a like to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, do give a share. Bring your friends on, start sharing if you like anything. I'm putting out highlights now. I'm also putting out shorts. I'm doing all sorts of things. We've got an editor who's working very hard, so big thanks to Kunal, who's doing a lot of work there. And keep the recommendations coming of who you'd like to have on the show. When is Sandeep Maheshwari bringing you on his show? I think that's highly unlikely. Ankur Warikoo has already come. I doubt Sandeep Maheshwari is interested in having me. Also, again, I'm going to be in Delhi tomorrow, so I'm going to be at Chai Point. So if you are in Chai Point, come. Chai Point is tomorrow in Saket. I'm doing a free show at Chai Point. I'll be putting up the details on my Instagram. It's going to happen at 7 o'clock. Chai Point is paying me money, and you are getting the show free. So come, aram se enjoy the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. We did the last one in Bangalore, which was super fun as well. So that's about it, friends. Take care, and we are also going to be doing live streams for the Cricket World Cup soon enough. So a lot of fun stuff happening till then. And keep your recommendations coming on who you'd like on the channel next. I have to figure out one with Samir Raina as well. All right, friends. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Marry me. Goodbye. See you later. Have a good day. Wait, I'm going to check if I missed any super chat. I do have to say, Cosmo Kramer says, I love my job. I love it too because of you guys. So thanks a lot to Cosmo Kramer. Really, really appreciate it. Take care, friends. Goodbye. Have a good day. See you all.